Ever wonder why California's dream feels so intoxicating and so destructive at the same time? The red-hot-chili-peppers-californication is a mirror held up to the dark side of fame, fantasy, and the American West. Beneath those catchy riffs and hypnotic chorus, there's a story about what happens when dreams get packaged and sold. Let's break it down. No hype, just the real talk behind the lyrics. The first verse is packed with surreal imagery and social commentary, all tied together by the song's central theme, the allure and dark side of Hollywood and California's cultural influence. The line, "Psychic spies from China try to steal your mind's elation," is a weird but fascinating metaphor. It suggests that foreign forces, maybe governments, corporations, or even just the global entertainment industry, are trying to manipulate or capitalize on people's happiness and creativity. Psychic spies makes it sound like an invasion of the mind, as if the outside world is constantly trying to tap into and exploit our inner joy or inspiration. China might be used here as a symbol of distant, mysterious power, but it could also hint at the growing global competition in media and technology. Then, little girls from Sweden dream of silver screen quotation shifts focus to the dreams and illusions sold by Hollywood. Sweden, often seen as a peaceful, idyllic place, represents innocence, but these girls fantasize about fame and the silver screen, the movies. The word quotation is interesting here. It could mean they dream of being quoted, famous, or it might reference the price tags and commercialization of stardom. Either way, it paints a picture of young people worldwide being seduced by the glamour of Hollywood, even if that dream is shallow or unattainable. Finally, and if you want these kind of dreams, it's Californication. Wraps it all up. Californication is a made-up word blending California and fornication, suggesting that the state's culture is both seductive and corrupting. The verse implies that this global obsession with fame, glamour, and manufactured happiness is a direct product of California's influence, a mix of desire and decay. The dreams being sold might be exciting, but they come with a cost, and the verse hints at the emptiness behind the fantasy. Overall, this verse critiques how California, and Hollywood specifically, exports a lifestyle that the whole world chases, even if it's built on illusions and exploitation. It's about the tension between aspiration and reality, and how the pursuit of these dreams can sometimes feel like a trap. The second verse dives deeper into the idea of California and Hollywood in particular as this almost mythical endpoint of Western culture, a place where dreams and reality blur in unsettling ways. The opening line, "It's the edge of the world and all of Western civilization," paints California as the final frontier both geographically and culturally. Literally, it's the westernmost part of the U.S. where the land drops off into the Pacific. But metaphorically, it's where the ideals, ambitions, and excesses of Western society seem to reach their peak, or maybe their breaking point. It's a place where everything gets amplified: fame, wealth, beauty, but also emptiness and disillusionment. The edge could also imply danger, like standing at a cliff, suggesting that this lifestyle isn't sustainable. Then, the sun may rise in the east, at least it's settled in a final location, placed with the idea of the sun setting in the west, a classic symbol of endings. The east, often associated with tradition, history, and beginnings, is where things start, but the west, California, is where they settle, as if all cultural energy eventually drifts there to burn out. Hollywood becomes the final stop, the place where dreams either come true or die. The line has a resigned tone, like this is just how things are. No matter where you begin, the pull of California is inevitable. Finally, it's understood that Hollywood sells Californication, drives home the song's central theme. Hollywood doesn't just make movies, it sells a fantasy, a lifestyle, an addiction, Californication. The word understood makes it sound like an open secret. Everyone knows the game, but they play along anyway. Hollywood commodifies desire, turning human longing into something that can be packaged and sold, often with consequences. The verse reinforces the idea that California's culture is both magnetic and toxic, a place where the promises of fame and happiness are as alluring as they are hollow. Overall, this verse frames California as the endpoint of modern ambition, a place where the sun sets on Western dreams, sometimes beautifully, sometimes tragically. It's a commentary on how Hollywood shapes global desires, selling an image that's impossible to resist but hard to truly live. The pre-chorus dives into the dark, twisted side of fame and beauty culture in Hollywood, blending surreal imagery with sharp social critique. The line, "Pay your surgeon very well to break the spell of aging," is a direct jab at the obsession with cosmetic surgery in celebrity culture. It suggests that aging is seen as a curse, a spell that needs to be broken, and the wealthy are willing to pay top dollar to maintain the illusion of youth. There's something almost desperate about it, like people are fighting against nature itself, trying to buy their way out of growing old. The word spell makes it sound like magic, but it's really just money and scalpels creating a false sense of immortality. Then, celebrity skin, is this your chin? Or is that war you're waging? Takes it further, mocking the extremes people go to for perfection. Celebrity skin could refer to the flawless, airbrushed images we see in media, but also to the real, altered faces of stars. The question about the chin is a dig at plastic surgery. So much work has been done that you might not even recognize yourself. Calling it a war frames it as a battle, like celebrities are constantly fighting against their own bodies, their own humanity. It's a sad, almost grotesque image when you think about it. People at war with themselves just to fit an impossible standard. The repeated phrases, firstborn unicorn and hardcore soft porn, are more abstract but add to the theme of artificial fantasy. A firstborn unicorn could symbolize something rare and magical, but also unnatural, like a manufactured celebrity, a one in a million star created by the industry. Hardcore soft porn might be a commentary on how Hollywood sexualizes everything, even when it's pretending to be subtle. It's a culture where sex sells, but it's dressed up in glossy, soft packaging to make it more palatable. Together, these lines paint a picture of an industry that's both alluring and deeply messed up. The second half of the pre-chorus shifts to a broader critique of power and control. Born and raised by those who praise control of population. This suggests that the whole system, celebrity culture, beauty standards, even the media, is shaped by powerful people who manipulate society's desires. It's not just about vanity, it's about control. The line, "well, everybody's been there, and I don't mean on vacation," is sarcastic. It's saying we've all been affected by this machine, not as tourists, but as products or consumers. Like, we're all part of the system, whether we realize it or not. Overall, the pre-chorus exposes the ugly underbelly of Hollywood's glamour. It's about the pressure to stay young, the loss of identity, and the way fame dehumanizes people, turning them into products. The lyrics are cynical but also sad, pointing at how easily we buy into these illusions even when they're destroying us. The chorus is deceptively simple, just four repetitions of Dream of Californication, but it's the emotional and thematic core of the entire song. On the surface, it sounds almost hypnotic, like a mantra or a commercial slogan, which is exactly the point. It's mimicking the way Hollywood sells itself, a seductive, repetitive fantasy that gets stuck in your head until you believe it. The word dream is key here because it's not about reality. It's about the manufactured illusion of California as this perfect paradise of sunshine, fame, and endless possibility. The repetition of the line makes it feel less like a genuine aspiration and more like brainwashing, as if people are being conditioned to crave this lifestyle without questioning its costs. It's the kind of phrase you'd see on a billboard or in a tourism ad, selling a dream that's too good to be true. The more you hear it, the more it feels like the song is critiquing how easily we buy into these empty fantasies. The chorus also ties into the song's broader themes of obsession and disillusionment. The verses paint this grim picture of plastic surgery, lost innocence, and cultural decay, but the chorus brings us back to the dream, the thing people are chasing despite all the warning signs. It's almost tragic in a way because the repetition makes it sound like no matter how dark the reality gets, people still can't stop dreaming of Californication. It's addictive, like a drug or a bad relationship, where the fantasy is more powerful than the truth. In the end, the chorus isn't just a hook, it's the entire thesis of the song. It's about how California, and by extension, fame, consumerism, and modern culture, sells itself as a dream, but that dream is really a trap. The fact that it's so simple and repetitive makes it even more effective because that's exactly how propaganda works. Say something enough times and people will believe it even if it's destroying them. Verse 3 dives into the twisted fairy tale of fame and young love in Hollywood, blending romantic fantasy with the harsh realities of exploitation and empty dreams. The opening line, "Marry me, girl, be my fairy to the world, be my very own constellation," sounds like a grand poetic proposal, but there's something off about it. The speaker isn't just asking for love. They're asking the girl to become a fairy to the world, a kind of mythical, idealized figure for public consumption. The word constellation suggests she's not just a person, but a spectacle, something beautiful and distant to be admired like stars in the sky. It's less about intimacy and more about turning a relationship into a performance, which is very on brand for Hollywood's obsession with image over substance. Then comes the jarring shift with a teenage bride with a baby inside getting high on information. Suddenly, the fairy tale crumbles into something darker. A pregnant teenage bride is a loaded image. It hints at recklessness, naivety, and the way young lives get tangled up in Hollywood's fast moving chaos. Getting high on information is a brilliant twist on the idea of addiction. Instead of drugs, she's intoxicated by media, gossip, or the constant flood of celebrity culture. It's a commentary on how the entertainment industry can overwhelm and distort reality, especially for young people thrown into its spotlight. The line feels tragic, like a lost girl mistaking fame for fulfillment. The verse ends with, "And buy me a star on the boulevard, it's Californication," which ties everything together with a cynical bow. Buying a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame is the ultimate symbol of making it, but here it feels hollow, like a transactional relationship where love is just another deal. The speaker isn't asking for affection. They're asking for a purchased monument to their ego. And that, the song says, is Californication in a nutshell. The reduction of human connections and dreams into something you can buy, sell, and stick on a sidewalk for tourists to photograph. It's a world where even love and family get warped by the hunger for fame. Overall, this verse paints a picture of Hollywood as a place where fairy tales don't end with happily ever after. They end with exploitation, premature adulthood, and the cheap thrill of superficial success. The contrast between the opening romanticism and the grim reality that follows makes it clear. In California, even the most intimate dreams get packaged and sold. Verse 4 takes the song's critique of artificially and cultural decay to cosmic levels, blending sci-fi imagery with real-world tragedies to show how Hollywood's illusions warp our sense of reality. The line, "Space may be the final frontier, but it's made in a Hollywood basement," flips the idea of space exploration, something vast and awe-inspiring, into something manufactured and fake. Instead of celebrating human curiosity, it suggests even our grandest ambitions, like sci-fi movies about space, are just cheap sets and special effects cooked up in a studio. It's a dig at how Hollywood commodities wander, turning the infinite into something controllable and sellable. The reference to Cobain, Kurt Cobain, the Nirvana frontman who died by suicide in 1994, is one of the song's darkest and most poignant moments. Can you hear the spheres singing songs off station to station? Is layered with meaning. Spheres could mean celestial bodies, tying back to the space theme, or even the music of the spheres, an ancient idea that the universe hums with harmony. But here, they're singing station to station, a David Bowie album that came during his cocaine-fueled, psychologically fragile, Thin White Duke era. The line feels like a ghostly question to Cobain. Can you hear the echoes of other artists who burned out just like you? It connects Cobain's tragedy to the larger cycle of self-destruction in fame, suggesting Hollywood's culture of excess and pressure repeats itself endlessly. Finally, and Alderaan's Not Far Away, its Californication, brings in Star Wars lore. Alderaan was the planet destroyed by the Death Star, to hammer home the idea of annihilation. But instead of a galaxy far, far away, the lyric says that kind of apocalyptic destruction is happening right here, just dressed up as entertainment. Hollywood blows up worlds for blockbusters, but the real damage is in how it obliterates authenticity, mental health, and meaning, replacing them with flashy emptiness. Californication becomes a force as destructive as a superweapon, turning everything into disposable spectacle. This verse is the song's most existential, tying personal tragedy, Cobain, pop culture, Star Wars, and Hollywood's fake grandeur into one big warning. It's saying, we pretend our fantasies are harmless escapes, but they're actually distorting reality, erasing truth, and leaving wreckage behind. The final frontier isn't space. It's the point where we can no longer tell the difference between what's real and what's manufactured, and that's a scarier thought than any sci-fi dystopia. The fifth verse serves as both a philosophical reflection and a grim punchline to the song's central thesis. The opening line, "Destruction leads to a very rough road, but it also breeds creation," feels like a resigned acknowledgement of how culture evolves through chaos. It's the idea that art, music, and even societal progress often emerge from breakdowns and revolutions. Think punk rock rising from societal disillusionment, or how California's counterculture movements challenged norms. But the rough road reminds us this process isn't pretty. It's messy, painful, and sometimes leaves casualties in its wake. In the context of the song, this could apply to how Hollywood constantly tears down and rebuilds itself, chewing up lives while spinning out new trends. The next line, and earthquakes are to a girl's guitar, they're just another good vibration, is a clever double entendre. On one level, it's a nod to the Beach Boys' classic Good Vibrations, tying California's sunny pop mythology into the song's darker themes. But it also suggests how the state's literal instability, earthquakes, mirrors the emotional tremors of creative life. A girl's guitar could symbolize raw, authentic artistry, but even seismic shifts in culture or personal turmoil get reduced to just another vibe, something to be commodified or romanticized. It's a cynical take on how real struggles get sanitized into entertainment, like how punk's rebellion or grunge's angst became marketable trends. The closing line, and tidal waves couldn't save the world from Californication, is the verse's fatalistic kicker. Tidal waves, or tsunamis, are natural forces of cleansing destruction, but here they are powerless against the creeping spread of Californication, the song's metaphor for cultural pollution. No matter how hard reality tries to reset things through disasters, crisis, or even artistic rebellion, the allure of Hollywood's fake paradise is too strong. The world is addicted to the fantasy, and even nature's fury can't wash it away. It's a bleakly humorous conclusion. California's influence is like a virus surviving every apocalypse. This verse ultimately frames Californication as an unstoppable force, blending creation and destruction into something the world can't quit. The song isn't just critiquing Hollywood, it's admitting how seductive its illusions are, even as they distort reality. The good vibrations aren't harmless fun, they're the sound of the world humming along to its own exploitation.